Welcome to day 2 of the 5-day transformation to get your marriage back on track and rekindle newlywed love. I'm your host, Samantha Kierkegaard, and I'm super excited to have you here with me. Yesterday, we talked about how to manage our mind so that blame doesn't spill out of us and into our husband. Today, we're going to talk about something I call less is more. It's about how do we communicate with our husbands right now and here so that in the future, we both feel heard and satisfied in our relationship. When you master this skill, you'll have a husband who's always fully capable of understanding and hearing every word you say. On the other hand, if you don't master this skill, you will drift further and further apart and most likely eventually end up in a divorce. Because whatever it is that you were trying to talk about, that you gave up on talking about because you just ended up fighting, whatever that is doesn't evaporate into thin air. Like that hurt is still inside of you. And the only way to get out of this hurt or get through with it is for you to communicate it to him in a way so he understands it, and for him to communicate with you in a way so that you understand his hurt feelings. Because otherwise that hurt is still going to be there and it's going to continue to trigger you so that you blame and complain and do all these things that stand in the way of connection, okay? So the only way for this not to matter anymore is for you to fully understand him and his hurt feelings, and you to fully communicate yours to him, okay? So why do women need to communicate, and why do we need to manage our communication? Well, first of all, we think out loud, okay? Men don't. They just don't. And they don't expect anyone else to think out loud either. So, second of all, we speak an average of 7,000 words per day. Men speak an average of 3,000 words per day. That's 133% more words coming out of our mouth daily than men. We have a total of 20,000 communication signals that we use, including words, vocal sounds, facial expressions, body language. Men have a total of 7,000 communication signals that they send out. That's 185% more communication signals that come out of us daily, okay? So men just communicate less, okay? That's it, they do. So principles for you to remember when managing your communication is this. Men can only take in the same amount of words as they send out, number one. Number two, the male brain cannot speak and listen at the same time, okay? That's a scientific fact. I want to show you a brain scan. This is the female brains. It's the language and speech centers. You see it in both hemispheres. See how big it is, right? That's our speech and language centers. Here's the same brain scan of the male brain. Those are his speech and language centers, okay? They're not as highly developed. They're not as big, okay? Doesn't mean anyone is wrong or right. That's just the main difference, okay? So how do we go about communicating in a way so that both of us feel heard and understood? Okay, that's today's homework for you ladies. Do not interrupt your husband, okay? For 24 hours, do not interrupt your husband. Let him speak, okay? And whatever he says, don't take it personal, okay? Don't get mad at him, okay? That's very important. That will discourage him from speaking, okay? So there are 2 reasons why you don't want to interrupt him. First of all, it will make him express more words so that he can take more words in. So in the future, you'll be able to say more words to him. Second of all, it makes him feel allowed to be himself, okay? Most of the time, he's afraid. That's the reason he's not using as many words and it's not developed in his brain. He's going to be afraid of talking and being told he's saying something wrong, being told off by you, feeling like a little boy who did something wrong. Nobody wants to feel that way, okay? So don't get mad at him. Whatever he says, no matter how stupid you think it sounds or however hurtful it may be, don't get mad at him, okay? It's not what he says that matters, it's how he feels when he's saying it, okay? He feels allowed to be himself. He feels alive and enjoyed and acknowledged, okay? You want him to feel all of that. You don't have to try and understand what he's actually saying, So if he's talking about how the car works, which my husband did, and I wasn't able to understand it, and I was starting to get a little annoyed because I was trying to understand it, but it was like putting a round thing into a square thing, and my brain was squared, and what he was trying to put in was round. I didn't get it, okay? Just nod and smile and know whatever he's talking about, however boring it may be, he's wired up, he's excited about, let him talk. Know that in this instance, you're actually making love, okay? You know that? So how do we not interrupt? Okay, there are two reasons why we interrupt our husbands. Okay, number one, we're so right and he's so wrong, okay? And if he just understood this one little point that I'm trying to make, if he just understood this that I'm so desperately trying to make him understand, everything else would be okay. No more fighting. If he just understood this, the heavens would open and we'd never fight anymore. But he still doesn't understand it, right? That's number one. Number two is that he hurt us and we just say something without thinking, okay? He said something, we were hurt. That's why we interrupt him. Remember yesterday's lesson, right? Yesterday's step, manage your emotion. Ask yourself, what is my intention? When he starts talking, if you get bored or you get hurt, remember this, what is my intention? If you feel an urge to interrupt because you're so right and he's so wrong, ask yourself, what is my intention? Your intention is for your husband to speak as many words as possible so that he feels fully allowed to be himself, and so that you in the future are able to say more words that he's able to take in, right? Because he's reached a maximum, because he can only take in as many words as he sends out, okay? So ask yourself, what is my intention? And instead of trying to understand how the car works or whatever he's trying to tell you, right, that he's fired up about, just try to understand this about yourself instead. Like, women use communication to build relationship. We need relationship like we need oxygen, okay? Men use communication to convey a message. That's it. They like it to be short and precise, just like when he's shooting a deer back in the days when he was a hunter, right, for his family to survive. Short and precise, that's it. That's what he needs, okay? Now, we need it for various reasons. First of all, is the relationship is really, really important for us to build relationship. And that's why we think out loud, and that's why we share so much, because to us that builds up relationship. And second of all, we use communication, or at least I do. So let me know if this doesn't fit for you. Sometimes my client is the husband and vice versa. It all depends. But for me, I use communication to process, and the female brain in general does take in a lot of signals, and we take a lot of things into account. And we use it, we think and we speak at the same time to process all of these thoughts and emotions that are going through our brain with various analysis in them, for it to land and not take up space. So it needs to get out, we process, then we pack it away and it's landed, okay? Until our husband says a word that recalls all of this, and it's like a string of analysis and cost-benefit calculations where we take in way more factors into account than our husbands would. So we just have this myriad of brain patterns and waves, and everything that happens to us and everything we think about, all the facts, they're tied to emotions inside our brains. And that's when one is recalled, all the other stuff is recalled. That's how we store it. Everything is tied to emotion and hormones in our brain. That's how it works, okay? So we use it to process all of that. And my suggestion to you is to go outside your marriage and do that whole processing so that it lands and it doesn't take up space. If we don't do this processing, I think our head is going to explode or implode, because there are just so many signals going through it. There are so many thoughts and feelings connected, and they're all interconnected, right? And it's okay that we are who we are, but don't expect your husband to be able to follow it, okay? And don't expect to fully understand what he's saying right off the bat or relate to it. Just enjoy the fact that he's talking and he gets his turn. So that's what I want you to do for the next 24 hours. Do not interrupt your husband, and let me know how this exercise works. And if you want to be a top level student and you're really serious about this, continue it for the rest of the challenge or the rest of this transformation. Okay. And if you don't have Facebook, share with me in an email how this goes. If you do have Facebook, go into the group. I'll also be answering Q&As in there. and giving some more thoughts to the topic and some more interesting facts and figures. Okay, let me know how this lands for you, and let me know how it goes with not interrupting your husband for 24 hours. There are many reasons not to interrupt him. I will update you with some more, but for now, just know that you want him to talk as much as possible. That's the way to get a happy husband who feels fully appreciated and able to be himself without being afraid that you will get mad at him. Okay, don't take anything he says personal. The practice is to get him to speak as much as possible. All right, I'll stop speaking now, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. Bye-bye.